Okay. What is this? February 19th? Yeah, nailed it. 2024. Countdown to March Madness number 3. College basketball show is basically what this is. I mean, the March Madness element doesn't even really come into play until March, so we kind of just mess around and do 4 weeks for no reason, I would say, honestly. But either way, it's good to get the thoughts out there and the particular feelings on certain teams around the country. And that's exactly where we'll begin today, which is, I think we need to have a conversation about Kansas, because it's weird that Kansas, the game that everybody wants to reference right now with Kansas is what happened last Monday. And it's just been so long, but I still feel like we need to discuss that. So they go on the road without Kevin McCullough. And, Kevin McCullough is probably a top 5 player in the Big 12, maybe top 10 player in the country. I mean,
I'd say so.
Yeah, and this is already a Kansas team that lacks some depth. And they go out, and this is about as bad of a loss against a non-elite team. Like, Texas Tech is good. They're not elite. And Kansas loses by 29. They score 22 points in the second half. Bill Self gets thrown out. This was a game that was 37-28 at the half, so it wasn't completely out of reach. But minus 21 in the second half for Kansas. Dickinson has 5 points on 2 of 12 shooting, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Johnny Furphy, who's kind of been a really, really solid player for them as a freshman. I think Furphy's going to be really good in a couple of years. He had 13 points, 7 rebounds. And Nicholas Timberlake, who's been kind of struggling as a transfer, is starting to put it together a little bit, at least in this game. He didn't do anything against Oklahoma, but he had 13 points and 3 rebounds in that game. But this Kansas team to me is just not elite, and I think a lot of it is the depth issues where they're bringing like 2 guys off the bench that are playable when McCullough's healthy, which is Elmarco Jackson and Timberlake. And then after that, it's like, I don't know. You're relying a lot on – you're going to need a lot from Dickinson. You're going to need a lot from McCullough. You're going to need a lot from DeJuan Harris in terms of playmaking, facilitating. And then you're going to need KJ Adams and Johnny Furphy to pitch in here and there. And when you have a game – where McCullough doesn't play, and then Adams and Dickinson go 3 for 22 from the field, like, you're not going to win those games, especially when Harris has 7 points and 3 assists and turns it over 3 times. So just like they got punked. I mean, Darion Williams had maybe the best stat line I've seen this season from a player with 30 points on 12 of 12 shooting. Like, that is insane. 11 rebounds, 3 assists. I don't think you're going to find a better game from anybody than that, especially against Kansas, who, like I said, I don't think Kansas is elite. I think they're somewhere in that middle of the second tier in the country. Like, they're good. They don't have any depth. They're not special offensively. And defensively, they're fine. And they're in the Big 12 where it's hard. This team was 14-2 after beating Oklahoma on January 13th. They're now 20-6. So it's not the end of the world. But I don't think this team has as high of a ceiling as maybe they should.
Yeah, I would agree. Look at the Oklahoma game. They had 2 points off the bench. Yeah, their depth is definitely a problem. So
it's like almost non-existent. Like, bench minutes, they're 346th in the country in bench minutes percentage. So the D1 average is 31.2% off the bench. Kansas is 22.1%. So the thing they have going for them is that they're big and they have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
So, and they have a point guard. Jeff Goodblum will tell you that point guard plays all that matters, which I agree that point guard play is extremely important, but I think you have to look at it on a case-by-case basis, because you can win a national championship without an elite point guard. Like, it helps to have one, but I would look at UConn last year. Tristan Newton was a good player. Was he an elite point guard? He's elite now. Yeah. I'm not sure he was elite then. And, obviously Baylor had elite point guard play. Kansas, when they won it, did. Virginia. I mean, there's a ton of examples. More likely than not, if you want to win a national championship, you're going to need an elite point guard. Kansas has that. But what Kansas doesn't have is a playable bench. Because, like, Elmarco Jackson, when McCullough's out, he plays 20-plus minutes against Texas Tech, and then he ends up playing 4 against Oklahoma. So,
yeah,
I think Kansas right now in the Big 12, I would probably put them 4th. I think Houston, Iowa State, and Baylor are all better. And I know Texas Tech beat them, but I still think Kansas is better than Texas Tech when it's all said and done. But the Big 12 next year is only going to get better with Arizona, and Utah is a decent mid team. So interesting with Kansas. We'll see. I mean, schedule wise, they have Texas, BYU, Baylor, Kansas State, Houston. So they probably have 2 more losses at least in there in Waco and Houston. So we'll see. Should be interesting. They have some nice rest time. They don't play again until Saturday. They play home against Texas. So that should be a good little break for them. And then they
Get back, yeah.
with a game against BYU on Tuesday. But we'll see what happens with Kansas. You always got to trust Bill Self to some degree, but a little eye-opening to lose like that. Let's see. Next up, Chris Holtmann is out at Ohio State. We've discussed this many times. I mean, it's probably the right move. You're looking at a team that's underachieved for the last 2 years and 3 of the last 4. I know they got a 2 seed in 2021, but they lost in the first round. I would just define that as underachieving. The 2022 team with Malachi Branham got to the second round, lost to Villanova. Villanova eventually got to the Final Four, so I'm not going to blame him for that. But overall, yeah, it just didn't work for Holtmann. I think he's a very good coach. I think he'll get another job. I don't know whether that job will be, does he go lower end power conference school or does he go high end mid-major would be the thought there. I mean, you look at his resume before, he had 3 years at Gardner-Webb that weren't exactly spectacular. He went 6-12 in the Big South in 2011, 6-12 in the Big South in 2012, and then 11-5 in 2013 and 21-13. Didn't make the tournament, but got the Butler job a couple of years later, and he ends up making the tournament all 3 years there. So, and he made the tournament 4 times at Ohio State. Would have been 5 without COVID. So he did fine. It's just the last 2 years not good enough, and not getting to a Sweet 16 in 8 seasons. That'll do it. So I think it's the right move by Ohio State, though, to get ahead of things, figure out what you're going to do, and the first game without him, they beat Purdue. So
yeah,
there you go.
Pretty good.
Think there's any chance Jake Diebler gets the job?
Man, I don't know. I mean, you think Ohio State would want to, make some splash higher, but you beat Purdue.
I think
good resume builder right there.
If he wins a Big Ten tournament, that's his only chance.
Yeah, you're probably right there.
I mean, you look at what Texas did with Rodney Terry. They got to the Elite Eight and had a lot of success. So I feel like that's one where you could justify it. He had a lot more time to work with, though. I mean, it's late February pretty much right now. So
right, yeah.
But yeah, I mean they also won the Big 12 tournament. So if he wins the Big Ten tournament and then gets the Elite Eight, I think he'll get the job.
That's probably true there. Yeah.
But outside of that, I think if you're Ohio State, you go after Greg McDermott. You go after what's his face also as well. Who am I thinking of?
Oh yeah.
Who's the other name that's always mentioned? There's another name. Sean Miller. There we go. Sean Miller, Dusty May.
You think it's going to be Sean Miller, right?
I do, but I could be talked out of that pretty easily, I would say.
Okay.
Mark Titus.
Into it with the fans. So.
Well, just Xavier fans thinking that he's going to be around forever. It's like, come on. There's no way.
Yeah.
He would leave for Ohio State, I think, in a second.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, yeah, Ohio State beats Purdue. I mean, you look at the numbers in that game. I mean, Purdue is was kind of flirting with a loss, I would say, at some point.
It seems like they've been struggling, so not struggling necessarily, but
less, I would say, just
if you can find a way to turn Purdue over, you have a better chance of beating them.
14 turnovers. Yeah, Edey and Smith weren't great. 9 turnovers between the two of them. I mean, they were great at scoring. 22 for Edey and made all 8 of his free throws. I think every time Zach Edey has ever shot 100% from the free throw line, they've lost the game.
Really?
Yeah, I think there's some stat there. Let me see if I can find that. But
that's crazy.
How important? I mean, Lance Jones is going to be the reason why this team probably gets to a Final Four, right?
Yeah. He's a guy that can hit big shots when you need them. I think you have more confidence in him over Fletcher Lawyer right now. So I don't know. They played Morton a lot, it seemed, for defensive purposes.
Yeah, 18 minutes for Morton, 16 for Gillis.
He just gives you nothing on the offensive end, it seems like.
Yeah, he shot 94 threes last year. 27%. He shot 17 this year. I mean, I think you were understating how little he gives them offensively. He is 7 for 30 from the field this season.
He's only averaging like 1.5 a game or something.
But they had him. I mean, Purdue fans should be thanking the big man upstairs that Lance Jones is on this team, because Morton was like legitimately trying to score offensively the last 2 years before this.
Yeah.
And it was more efficient. I mean, he was 44% from 2, 27% from 3. Than the year before that, his second year, he was 51% from 2 and 44% from 3. But now it's just nothing. And he hasn't scored a point since the Rutgers game on January 28th. And he's been playing double-digit minutes in 4 of those 5. So Morton's not giving him much offensively, which he doesn't have to. I mean, they only scored 69 points this game, but also Lawyer, was 1 of 7 from the field with 6 points. And Lance Jones was 0 of 6 from inside the 3-point line, but made 3 threes, so that's big. And then Braden Smith, 0 for 2 from 3 only gives you only gives you 12. So, and Gillis didn't make a 3. So I think if Gillis and Lawyer don't make threes, you probably have trouble on your hands, because going into this game, Mason Gillis had made 7 threes in the last 2 games. So the fewer threes he makes, I think the more likely they are to lose some of these games, because Wisconsin didn't make a 3. They only won by 6. They played well in that game, though. Then he makes 3 against Indiana and 4 against Minnesota, and then 0 in this game. So, yeah, it's the third game in the new year where he has not made a 3. But Purdue's going to be fine. I don't agree with the thing that Purdue's still the best team in the country. I've never really – I mean, I had them as the best team in the country for the first 2 months, but I've always thought that it was kind of like a Purdue-UConn together thing. I think right now UConn's playing much better.
Yeah.
But I still think at the end of the day, Purdue's going to be right there with them as the 2 best teams.
I agree. Purdue fans are hair on fire. Why does the media hate us after a loss? Calm down. It'll be okay. It's okay. You drop a couple spots in the AP poll. Nobody really cares about that, except for Purdue fans, apparently. So,
and there's definitely something to the fact that even when the Big Ten's not as great, there's something with the scheduling of the Big East that makes it seem so much easier.
Yeah.
I think that's what Ant Wright's big point was on Twitter, which I don't fully agree with him that Purdue's better than UConn. And I'm not going to discount UConn, who I think there's an element of trolling there, certainly.
Yeah, he was big time trolling. Holy cow.
But I mean, UConn destroyed everybody in the tournament last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you just look at what UConn's doing. They beat Marquette by 28. They beat DePaul, who is literally historically awful, by 36. Mm-hmm. They covered the spread by almost 2 touchdowns, and they won by 36. I had them winning by 65, though, so a little disappointing. They beat Georgetown, who's also terrible, by 25. Like, being able to play Georgetown and DePaul twice is a big advantage.
Beneficial for sure.
They beat a good Butler team by 9. Good is a strong word. They beat a scrappy Butler team by 9. They beat a scrappy St. John's team who Rick Pitino hates by 13. They beat Providence by 9. They beat Xavier, who's, mid-level. They're fine. They beat them by 33. That's the wrong number. They beat them by 43. So they've been destroying teams for the last 2 months. Since their loss to Seton Hall on December 20th, they have just been destroying teams. I think that's why UConn is viewed as number 1. And they also won the title last year, so they deserve that as well. Okay, SEC. Auburn, earlier in the week, put up 101 on South Carolina, beat them 101-61, an absolute blowout over a South Carolina team that going in was 21-3. They've now lost 2 straight. They lost home to LSU, so interesting there for South Carolina, a team that's going to make the tournament, but something to monitor with them. But I think it says a lot about the inconsistency, and maybe what makes people fear believing in Auburn is a game like that.
That's what Auburn's been for years, though, right? I mean, that's just, they're not making threes. They score 101, they go 12 of 20. They score 59, they go 4 of 22. So.
Yeah, I don't know if they've had a game this year that they've lost where they shot well from 3.
Right.
I think the Baylor game, which is the first game of the season, is the only one. They were 9 of 19. They also lost to App State and shot 3 for 27 from 3. So they're 33.2%, which isn't exactly elite, but they rely on making them to win.
Yeah. Yep. They
But
are,
a lot of the
get it
point
up quick.
a lot of the point distribution numbers will tell you, though, that they do score more frequently from 2 than 3, which I think is something to do with the fact that there are some games where they just don't take a lot of threes and they don't make a lot of them. Like when they beat Alabama and scored 99, they made 5 threes. So I think Janai Broome is a big part of why they don't have to kind of stretch it out and take a ton of threes. And I also think there's a lot of matchup stuff that Bruce Pearl relies on as to how many, how are we going to approach shooting the 3. So I think what Auburn is a team that can make a lot of threes if they need to, but then there's some games where if they're not falling, they'll stop shooting them and they won't be able to get as many points from inside the 3-point line as they need. But I honestly have no clue what to think of this this Auburn team. I mean, at home they scored 59 against Kentucky, who defensively was a disaster before this.
Yeah.
But back-to-back games for Kentucky allowing 65 or less, so maybe they're starting to figure something out. But I like this Auburn team a lot, but I can't trust them right now.
How many guys do they have on their roster? They had 10 people come off the bench against South Carolina. And I know it was a blowout, but holy cow.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys on that team. I mean, yeah, they got they had 10 guys play double-digit minutes, and then you add one more 11 with Lior Berman playing 9 minutes. So
yeah, it's crazy.
Super efficient offensive game there. Jesus. Yeah, but Janai Broome's one of the best players in the country, I think.
Yeah.
He's a big part of why they might not. I mean, he can shoot the 3 too. I mean, he shoots it, 36%. So
he's 4 or 5 in the South Carolina game.
So basically, I don't know what to think about Auburn. Like, they can defend. That's one thing they have going for them. They can defend. They're 4th in defensive efficiency. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how they approach the tournament, if they'll live and die by the 3, which there's a lot of numbers that tell you they do, but then there's a lot of numbers that tell you they don't. So that's why I just don't know where to land on them. So committee's top 16. I didn't even pull this up, so I'm going to pull it up.
Number 1, Purdue.
Yeah, which they lost the next day. Hang on. Here we go. Got it. Midwest Region 1 seed, number 1, Purdue. UConn East Region 1 seed. Houston South Region 1 seed, and Arizona West Region 1 seed. Then your 2 seeds, 5 through 8, North Carolina, Tennessee, Marquette, Kansas. 3 seeds, 9 through 12, Alabama, Baylor, Iowa State, Duke. And then 4 seeds, 13 through 16, Auburn, San Diego State, Illinois, Wisconsin. And Wisconsin lost after this as well, as did Auburn, as did Purdue, as did Marquette. Let's see, who else? Did Alabama win? I feel like they probably won, right? Yeah.
I think so.
Is Alabama the best team in the SEC? I mean, a lot of the numbers tell you they are. I think they are. That's weird. That snuck up on me. Yeah, I mean, I don't really care about the top 16. I know it matters a little bit, but like, I'm not surprised by anything here.
Yeah, San Diego State kind of.
Yeah, I'd have to give their resume a once over just to make sure that that's okay, or else I'll complain to the committee.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that it's wrong. I don't think they were even ranked last week in the AP.
Well, the AP doesn't matter.
I know, but that's what a lot of people look at to kind of.
San Diego State has 5. San Diego State has 5 quad ones, 0 losses, and 2, 3, or 4, and they're 18th in the net. So yeah, they're like hovering. I think it helps them that Michigan State can't be justified as a top 16 seed right now, as well as a couple others. So
yeah,
I mean, the Mountain West is really good, so that's another factor here as well. They're top of it, 9-4. So yeah, I mean, other than that, there's a lot of teams here that I think aren't as good as their resume. Wisconsin being one of them.
Yeah.
Kansas probably being one of them as well. Like, Kansas, to me, does not seem like a team that's got 11 wins in quad 1 or 2, but they do. So that probably says a lot more about how good they've been for so long that you expect a lot more out of them. But one thing that you notice that in the top 20 of the net is win your home games. Houston, Purdue, Arizona, UConn have 0 home losses. Iowa State has 0 home losses. Kansas has 0 home losses. San Diego State has 0. Dayton has 0. And then everybody else has 1 or 2. So win your home games. Don't beat Kentucky. Don't lose 4 games at Rupp Arena. Don't beat Clemson. Don't lose 4 games at home. Don't be like those teams.
What about having a better non-conference schedule? Because Iowa State,
yeah,
being 11th, I mean, they're a top 10 team, but I saw somebody say that Big Ten's going to have trouble getting an extra team in just because of how they scheduled their non-conference. So
Iowa State 347th in non-conference strength schedule.
Yeah.
Nebraska 346. Minnesota 363 or 362. Let's see who else of note. South Carolina 334. There's a lot of numbers in front of me. I'm like blind. Texas 291, UConn 283. But if you look at UConn, they beat Texas, beat North Carolina, beat Gonzaga, lost to Kansas. They just played a lot of really – their first 3 games were against 3 of the worst teams in the country. So that'll hurt a little bit. Let's see. Ohio State, who cares, 246. Iowa, 247. Non-conference strength of schedule. Where do you think Illinois is at on that list? I'm coming up to them.
Can be good. 200-ish.
230.
Yeah,
so
it's pretty weak.
Number 1 is who?
Strength of schedule? It's got to be Purdue.
Non-conference strength schedule.
It's got to be Purdue.
Florida A&M.
Really?
Florida
FAMU.
A&M, they're 4-19. They played Creighton, Nebraska, Florida, Oregon, Iowa, Iowa State, UCF, South Carolina. Purdue is ninth because all the teams in front of them are teams that are 280 or worse on KenPom.
Oh, okay.
Southern is 3rd. They're 210. They played TCU, UNLV, Arizona, Illinois, Marquette, Mississippi State. So they're ahead of them. But yeah, Purdue overall, I think, has the hardest. Yeah, Purdue, Michigan, Wisconsin, Alabama, Xavier, Kansas, Marquette, DePaul, Michigan State, Butler are top 10 overall adjusted strength of schedule.
Hey, we got a comment in this thing. What is going on?
Yikes.
Hinkle, you want me to read it for you?
Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't understand everyone's argument. The Big 12 is so tough. Weak non-con wins outside of Kansas.
I think that's a good point because I don't think the Big 12 is the league that I view as like the toughest overall. I know there's a lot of numbers that would say they have the best teams, but guess what? You know how you beef up your metrics? You destroy teams that you're supposed to destroy, which is why Houston has an unbelievable adjust. Like their defensive metrics are literally insane. They're first in efficiency, 86.2, lower the better. Iowa State's 3rd and 91. That's like 5 full. Like that's not even close. So like Houston's allowed more than 60 points, I think, or more than 70 points, I think, 3 times this year. I think they've 2 out of their 25 games, they've allowed 70 or more points.
Really?
And only one of those was a loss. The other one was a Texas overtime. It happened in back-to-back games. They went the first 21 games of the season without allowing 70 points. So that'll help your numbers, especially when you play Louisiana Monroe and you give up 31 points. Or you play Texas A&M Corpus Christi, you give up 50. Stetson, you give up 48. Towson, you give up 49. Those numbers are some of the best I've ever seen. And a lot of it is because of their non-conference and how they were. I'm not saying Houston's not
so
good.
Skewed, yeah.
But that'll help. But yeah, I think the SEC is the league that I would be most afraid to be in if I were a mid-level team. But I don't. Yeah, the Big 12 is good. The Big East is fine, but there's conferences that have bottom feeders to the point where you're like, okay, West Virginia is awful. Oklahoma State's awful. But other than that, everybody else has something going for them. outside of those two teams. That's why I think people think the Big 12 is so tough. And the fact that, like, I don't think Iowa State's as good as their numbers or record. I think they're good. I don't think they're as good as some may think. I think Houston's good. They're not as good as their numbers. I think Baylor's good, but defensively there are some issues there. Kansas, like I said, I'm not in love with that team. They're fine, but and then Texas Tech, TCU, and BYU are three teams I don't think are going to be as good as many will view them as. So, yeah, I think I would agree with that. Big 12, I'm not saying it's a bad conference, but I think it's something to the fact that people think it's like this huge gauntlet when it's really not exactly like that. I don't know. It's a weird thing to have a discussion about. I don't feel like doing it, so whatever. I think this is a pretty easy statement to make. There's never going to be another undefeated team in college basketball. It's never happening. I mean, there's a 0% chance.
Yeah.
We don't have an undefeated team right now. Like if it was ever going to happen, somebody would find, like, UConn would be 26-0 if it was ever going to happen again, I think. Transfer portal, mid-major teams being better. It's never happening again, ever. Maybe it does, though. I don't know.
I would agree with that. I mean, it'd have to be a really good team.
Had some close calls over the years, though. 31-1 Gonzaga.
Yeah, with a weak non-conferences, or they have to come out of. It'd have to be like Indiana State or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can't win a national championship, though. You have to win a national championship to be undefeated.
That's true. I like that regular season. My bad.
That Gonzaga team that went 31-1 was pretty legit.
Yeah.
They beat Kansas. West Virginia was good. They beat Iowa. Iowa was top 10 that year. They beat Virginia. They beat a good BYU team twice. They beat Oklahoma, Creighton, USC, UCLA, lost to Baylor. Like that would have been a worthy undefeated team. And the other one was Kentucky that year, 2015. Maybe the greatest college basketball team I've ever seen, I think, was that Kentucky team, 38-1. Just they were doing what Houston was doing to teams. Except they were doing it to Kansas. That Kentucky team gave up 40 points to Kansas.
It's pretty good.
So yeah, that Kentucky team right now would be the best team in the country by a mile. They had a 121.3 offensive efficiency and an 84.4 defensive efficiency. That would have been, that would have been the sixth best offense right now and the best defense. And they had a ton of pros. So yeah, that team was great. But it's never happening again. Mid-majors right now, Indiana State and FAU. Bit of struggles there. I mean, a bad week for the Sycamores of Indiana State. The house that Larry Bird built. They're still 32nd in the net. They have a quad 2 loss and a quad 4 loss. 1-3 in the quad 1. They're 21-5, 7-4 on the road, which may be an issue down the road. They're 13-3 in the conference, tied with Drake for first. They lose to Illinois State by 13. That's a bad one, especially at home. That's a bad one. And they lose at Southern Illinois by 5. I think they'll win out the regular season. Their schedule is pretty light to finish. I mean,
do they have to win their tournament to get in now, or you think they can still be at large?
I think they have to win the conference tournament. I don't think you can have a quad 4 loss and only have one quad 1 win.
Yeah.
And be an at large. And that quad 1 win, I think I want to say it was I don't even know where to find which win that would have been. Home against Drake? There's no way.
It might be.
No, that can't be a quad 1. That's had to be a road team that's like not that bad. This is
Bradley.
Did they play at Bradley?
They did, yeah.
When was that?
Early.
December 2nd. Let me check. Let's see here. There's no way, right? No, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, Bradley's 69th in the net, so that's their quad 1. Like, come on. I love this Indiana State team, but they have to win. If this team doesn't make the tournament, that is brutal. But yeah, they got to win the conference tournament. They're going to have to get through Drake, who they've split this year. So if there is a basketball god, we will have Drake and Indiana State in the Missouri Valley tournament. Like I'm gonna be so pissed if like Southeast Missouri or Southern Illinois pick off one of those two early. It's gonna be so bad for the sport. I don't care what anybody says. We need one of those two teams in, particularly Robbie Avila and the Sycamores and Larry Bird. FAU is another team that's just not been as good as people want them to be, but their record is still really good.
By people, you mean Illinois fans?
Yeah, they're 20-6. They're 11 or they're 10-3 in the conference. Like from a tournament perspective, they're still pretty firmly in, but it's not really enjoyable to watch them. They're 29th in the net. They're 2-1 in quad 1. They have losses in quad 3 and 4. I'm not sure if they weren't a darling last year and they didn't bring everybody back, would they really be like a 7 seed right now? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Metrics favor them, though. They do like them. They did beat Arizona. That's a big one. To have that win is really the reason why they're so firmly in right now, because Arizona's lost 5 games, and 2 of them were Purdue and FAU. So, but yeah, FAU's fine. They'll get in. Whatever. Rick Pitino, saying some interesting things after a blown loss against Seton Hall yesterday. How about that?
I'm shocked.
After the game, he said, quote, "This has been the most unenjoyable experience I've had since I've been coaching. They've lost 8 of 10. I remember the first countdown to March or the midseason. I was like, this team's probably going to make the tournament. They're 6-9 in the Big East, 14-12 overall. They're not making it. Still top. They are a higher rated metrics team than Drake or Indiana State, though. How about that?
Really?
Yeah, 42nd. Not bad. It's ahead of a lot of teams. But yeah, not great. They blew a 19-point lead. They lost by 6 to Seton Hall. Big one for Seton Hall. He said, quote, if I said I was disappointed, that would be the understatement of the year. Our lateral quickness and our toughness is just something I've never witnessed in all my years of coaching. We are so non-athletic that we can't guard anybody without fouling. And it's really not about losing. Even winning, when I watch the film, I see unathletic plays. I see people that don't handle the ball, that are just interested in taking quick shots. It's been a disappointing year. I mean, number one, Rick, you put the team together. You kicked everybody off the team.
Everybody off, yeah. AJ Store's athletic.
Yeah, so not great. I mean, not great. Can you imagine the backcourt of Curbelo and Store? They'd be electric.
You get Curbelo to play more than 5 games in a season, maybe.
It turns out if you bring a bunch of guys from mid-major schools and put them in a Big East team, it might not always work.
Yeah.
Because Jordan Dingles from Penn, Denise Jenkins is from Iona. Chris Ledlam is from Harvard. He brought back Joel Soriano. Naheem Aline's from UConn. What a mistake he made by leaving UConn. He probably wouldn't have played very much there this year, but still, tough one there. He brought in Glenn Taylor from Oregon State. I mean, it's just not a great roster. That's all there is to it. It's going to take a couple of years, though. Maybe even more now that he's doing this.
Yeah.
Either way, he gives you a good quote. I think the other team makes adjustments, and we have to make adjustments to move the basketball and take good shots, but we just lack toughness. We just don't move our feet on defense. They shot 37 free throws. Throw out the stats. You see it every game, the amount of free throws they shoot, the amount of free throws we shoot. Look at what Naheem shot on the year. Look at what Chris Ledlam shot on the year. You're a power forward. You played 29 minutes without a free throw. That means you're not offensive rebounding. You're not getting to the line. It's really all the toughness things are why we give up leads. Then he talked about aggressively rebuilding the roster. He said, quote, I had no choice. We just could take who we could get, who was available. We had no choice. I don't think we were going to win the first year anyway, because when you rush like that, you don't see the players. Not a whole lot we can do. Okay, sure.
I just got a bunch of guys to come here. I had no clue how they played basketball is what it sounds like he's saying.
Yeah, it turns out that trying to give a team a facelift is tough. You know? He also mentioned Soriano, who's a guy who's about 5 guys are slow laterally. Soriano was mentioned by Pitino as somebody who struggles with that. Pitino also said that St. John's having, quote, shit facilities is not the reason for its defensive woes. When asked by a reporter if he had any second thoughts about taking the St. When asked by a reporter if he had any second thoughts about taking the St. John's job, Pitino said no. Quote, it's not St. John's, it's my team. I love it. It's great. Seriously, having that back in the Big East is great, even though the Big East still lacks life because UConn's so much better than everybody. And the fact that the Big East, that's the most egregious thing that's ever happened in conference realignment is, and maybe that could change soon, obviously, but like not having like Rutgers or Pitt or Syracuse in the Big East, that just sucks.
Yeah.
Like Creighton is one of the premier teams in the Big East. They're in fucking Omaha. So annoying. But I can drop F-bombs on here. Who cares?
Yeah, I don't.
So,
Do what you want. It's your show.
I love Pitino. I hope they win the Big East tournament. Like, how can you not love that? If you're not a fan of it, if that was Brad Underwood doing that, I think we would be pissed. But that's great. I really hope Pitino makes the tournament like this year or next year. They're not making it this year unless they go on a miraculous run and somehow like beat UConn and Marquette in back-to-back games, which is not happening.
Right.
But God, that's great. That's seriously, anybody who hates on that is a loser. You hating on that?
No, I'm not hating on it. Tell how it is.
All right. Well, he's not even taking any blame, but whatever. Bracketology. Here we go. Bowertology. He's got a new one up. Hopefully, he does this every Monday because it wasn't up last Monday, but it's up today. I don't want to do my own bracket.
We better message that guy. Tell him that they got to be ready by 4:00 Central Time.
He's the top 5 guy, and Bracketology has been one of the most accurate over the last 5 years. So, shout out to him. Okay, what do we have here? Purdue, Arizona, UConn, Houston, your 1 seeds. Of note, a couple interesting matchups that I could find fun to watch. How about a little Wisconsin-Drake 5-12 game in the East region? Would be interesting.
Drake all day.
Okay. By the way, did you see my Facebook memory that I shared earlier?
No.
When Illinois lost in February 2019 to Wisconsin, I quote on my Facebook, I put, Wisconsin basketball equals soft. This is before we made the start of the podcast, by the way. Soft, play dirty, get every single call. Also, Illinois owns their best player. We'll get him next year. Illinois is 6-0 since I posted that against Wisconsin.
You're welcome. Taking credit for all kinds of stuff today.
I mean, it can't stop, won't stop. I mean, it's insane. I'm on a heater. Illinois, UC Irvine in the South region, 4-13 matchup. By the way, this has Clemson in the 5 line against that. That would be phenomenal. Being able to play Clemson in round 2. No offense to them, but seriously, that would be great. Just looking at UC Irvine, since we do have an Illinois interest here, they're 19-7, 12-2 in the Big West, 31st in adjusted defensive efficiencies. They are better than Illinois in that number. Non-conference losses to Utah State by 10. They lost to San Diego State by 1. They lost to New Mexico by 13. So, kind of a tough matchup, but
yeah.
So everybody said that about Chattanooga, and Illinois played really bad and won. So
terrible.
A couple others of note here. How about a little Colorado State Gonzaga 6-11? That is weird.
That is very weird.
How about a little Florida Nebraska action in the 6-11 in the East region? That would be a good time for everybody.
Yeah.
Here's another one that I would love to watch, and everyone would be like, "Oh, stupid game. Nobody wants to watch that." Utah State Grand Canyon 7-10. That'd be one of those good late Thursday or Friday games.
Yeah, that sounds like a stupid game. You're right.
Okay. You don't know ball. How about a little, let's see. Really losing steam here.
That's it, huh? Cool.
How about the fact that it's a bracket that has Akron and Illinois not playing each other? It has Creighton, Akron, 4-13.
Sounds like a guy that doesn't go off of, histories.
As the only Illinois fan on this podcast, how would you feel about Houston, Marquette, Alabama, Clemson as the teams around Illinois in a bracket?
The only one I really hate is Alabama. Alabama might score 120 on Illinois.
That would be a problem.
Other than that, I'm okay with it.
All right. As a non-Wisconsin fan, but a Big Ten person,
yeah,
how would you feel about UConn, North Carolina, Iowa State, San Diego State as 1-4 in Wisconsin's region?
I would like that worse.
I don't know if Wisconsin would get to 50 points against San Diego State.
That's true. Yeah.
That would be tough. I don't know. As a college basketball fan and a person who picked Dayton and was high on Dayton this year, how would you feel about Arizona, Kansas, Duke, Auburn as 1 through 4 and Dayton's region as a 5?
I think I'd be okay with that.
I mean, talk about an amazing matchup that I completely missed. Dayton McNeese State 5-12. That would be an incredible matchup because Will Wade, that McNeese State team is sick.
He's doing things. Yeah.
They are disgusting. I am a big fan of that team, especially like watching them against Michigan earlier. I was like, I still thought Michigan was kind of good at that point because remember Michigan, when they lost that game to McNeese State, they were 6-6. So maybe I'm wrong there. Never mind. But I still thought they were kind of good when they destroyed St. John's and they started 3-0, and then they started 3-0 and they're now 8-18, so 5-17. So that's pretty good. But McNeese, I'm telling you, McNeese State is really, really good. Like probably the best team in the Southland that I've ever seen. I mean, the Southland is not a good conference.
Right.
This might be the best Southland team ever, honestly. Like they're 23-3, 12-1 in the conference. They have the 63rd overall KenPom metrics. They're 5th in three-point shooting. This is the 28th rated conference in the country, according to KenPom. And last year's winner that made the tournament was 176th on KenPom, Texas A&M Corpus Christi. And they also had the most conference wins, so it wasn't just a run thing. They were the best team in the conference. And McNeese State this year is 63rd. That's 113 spots better on KenPom right now than last year's winner. So this is the best Southland team ever. I am very comfortable saying that. And McNeese, it would be a crime if McNeese somehow lost in the Southland tournament. Like that should be almost to the point where just look at the numbers and the Southland higher up should have the balls to just say, okay, McNeese, you're going. Everybody else, you guys all suck. I mean, think about this. Let's look at this is where every team in this conference ranks according to KenPom. McNeese State, 63rd. The number 2 team in the conference, Texas A&M Corpus Christi, 186th.
Ooh.
Lamar, 218th. Nicholls State, 278th. Southeastern Louisiana, 271st. Northwestern State, 323rd. Like, this is a conference full of 16 seeds with the best team in the conference being an 11 or 12 seed.
Yeah.
So, like I said, if McNeese State loses, I might not even watch the tournament. I would go that far. No, but that would be a great matchup. I think they would probably destroy Dayton, quite honestly, but that's just me. Kentucky App State's another one that's interesting. You know, App State beat Auburn. Kentucky just beat Auburn, so interesting there. Outside of that, I mean, I'd be curious to see Texas Tech, Seton Hall, where the profiles that are usually similar between those two schools are different now because Texas Tech has become like a really strong offensive team. They're not quite as good defensively, despite the fact that head coach Grant McCasland, his first year at Texas Tech, he had a resume or reputation of like North Texas was always really good defensively and kind of that Chris Beard coaching tree type thing. So it's interesting that Texas Tech is as good as they are offensively. So that'd be an interesting matchup if it came to fruition there. Bracketology, last 4 buys, Boise State, Nevada, Gonzaga, Nebraska. So Nebraska, better be careful. I'll tell you right now, Nebraska is 8-7 in the conference. They are slipping. If they lose, they have Indiana, Minnesota, Ohio State, Rutgers, Michigan. So you have to go, I think, 4-1 to feel good. And I know they're 18-8, but guess what? They started the year 7-0 by beating Lindenwood, 358, Florida A&M, 350, Rider, 256, Stony Brook, 214, Oregon State, 165, Duquesne, who I was very high on. I'm an idiot for thinking they would win the A-10, 106. They've been getting a little bit better, though. They're 15-10 now. They were, 9-8. They started 0-5 in the conference, so a really good pick by me there. And then they beat Cal State Fullerton 243. So non-conference-wise, their best win is Kansas State, and Kansas State is 5-7 in the Big 12 and not a tournament team.
Not good.
So I'm just saying, Nebraska, you better be careful. You better go into Bloomington on Wednesday and win. You better protect the home floor, beat Minnesota. You better go into Columbus and win. You better go into Ann Arbor and win. So be careful, Nebraska. Be careful. Last 4 in, Seton Hall, Texas A&M, Butler, Ole Miss. First 4 out, Utah, Indiana State, Cincinnati, Providence. Next 4 out, Villanova, Pitt, Wake Forest, Colorado. So Bids by conference, according to Bracketology. Big 12 and SEC 9, Big 10 6, Mountain West 6, Big East 5, ACC 4, American 2, Pac 12 2, West Coast Conference 2. And that's weird because, Pac 12 down to 2 bids with Utah being a first 4 out. So it's pretty much just Arizona on the one line. And then, hold on a second here.
Mm-hmm. Holding.
My eyes are not working. Like
Maybe there's only one.
There's 2. It says 2. It's got to be what, Washington State? No. Colorado? It's got to be Colorado, right?
Yeah.
I'm so lost. My eyes.
Right.
I don't know who the hell it is. Who the hell's the second team? Utah first 4 out. It's got to be Colorado or Washington State. Damn it. What is wrong with me? There it is. Washington State. I missed them. I went over like 20 times. Washington State 9 seed. There you go.
I was going to say they're ranked.
Yeah. So yeah, some fun matchups could be brewing. There's a lot of good mid-major teams this year. It's always the case, but like now, more than ever. I mean, there's a lot of them that I look at and it's like, damn, these would be tough matchups. Like it's probably never been harder to be a 5 seed than it is right now.
Yeah.
So have fun with that, folks. Teams that want to be a 5 seed. I mean, you look at last year's 5-12s, okay? I believe San Diego State was a 5. They beat Charleston. I believe Duke was a 5. They beat Oral Roberts. So that's 2-0, but still, not easy matchups. Miami was a 5. They beat Drake. Miami Final Four team. And then St. Mary. Okay, so the 5 seeds went 4-0 last year. My point is, those were not easy matchups.
Yep. Way to prove your point.
And the year before that, Houston 5 seed got to the Elite 8. Iowa 5 seed lost in round 1 to Richmond. So 1-1 in 2022. UConn was a 5 seed, lost in round 1 to New Mexico State. Oh, I'm back. 1-2. Where's the other one? Hold, please. St. Mary's a 5 seed, lost in round 2. So the 5 seeds in 2022. Elite 8, seeds. Round 2, round 1, round 1. Take that. I just drilled my finger on the table. All right. Let's do games to watch, which I have not prepared for at all. So.
Oh, good. Monday, Virginia at Virginia Tech. Big game tonight. Iowa State goes to Houston.
Yeah. Also, Kansas State at Texas. Texas needs to keep winning. Texas right now currently projected as a team that makes the tournament, get the 9 seed. Projected matchup according to Bracketology is the East region, Virginia, Texas, and then they play UConn. So have fun with that. Another chance for UConn to destroy somebody. All right. That's it for Monday. Now we go to Tuesday.
Tuesday, Iowa goes to Michigan State. UConn at Creighton. Number 1 versus 15. Number 11, Baylor goes to number 25, BYU. Number 19, San Diego State goes to Utah State. And Maryland is at Wisconsin. Wisconsin in desperate need for some wins.
Also, San Diego State, Utah State. Did you say that?
I did, yeah.
Okay, I thought you might have. Butler at Villanova. Syracuse, NC State. By the way, NC State, that's an upset pick. It counts. So, nice try. That's about it for Tuesday. Wednesday,
Duke goes into Miami. Ranked Florida, number 24 now, is at Alabama. Number 16, Dayton goes to George Mason. Nebraska, like you said, he said it like 7 times how they need to keep winning. They go to Indiana.
Careful.
And number 22, Colorado State has to visit the Lobos in New Mexico. I don't know if they're the Lobos or if that's New Mexico State, but there you go.
New Mexico is the Lobos and New Mexico State's the Aggies.
Okay. So I was right.
So nicely done.
Good
I
job,
didn't listen to
buddy.
any of that, so I'll add.
That's fine. Go ahead and say them all again.
No, I'll add Bradley at Missouri State.
Okay,
There you go.
great.
Thursday
Thursday, all I got is number 21 Washington State goes
at
to
Arizona.
Arizona.
Ohio State at Minnesota. I guess see
Yeah,
how
who cares?
Ohio State looks in second game under. How do you miss SMU at Florida Atlantic? SMU has been. Did you see SMU yesterday? SMU beat Memphis 106-79 yesterday, and they haven't lost.
Because I literally only do ranked teams unless it's the Big Ten. That's your job to get the other
Whatever.
ones.
They haven't lost. SMU hasn't lost since January 28th. They're 10-3 in the conference. They could very well be a legitimate at-large team. Let me see real quick here. FAU.
Not here. Nowhere to be found on Bracketology.
They're close though.
Well, they're at least 8 out.
And Memphis is a fraud.
So
Memphis is bad. Drexel at Hofstra, another big one there.
yeah, huge game.
Grand Canyon at Tarleton State, interesting game. Their little Bryce Drew against Billy Gillespie matchup in the WAC conference. 6 in a row for Tarleton State. They're 11-3 in the conference. And then Grand Canyon, obviously the gold standard in the conference. They're 24-2, 14-1 in the conference. So big matchup there. The first time these two played, it was a great close game where Grand Canyon won by 26. So be on the lookout for that one on Thursday. Now we go to Friday. And I told you, huge Ivy League doubleheader. I said this earlier.
Friday's all for you, buddy.
Yale at Cornell and Princeton at Harvard. Now, Harvard's not very good this year, but Princeton might be the best team in the conference, 19-3, 7-2 in the Ivy League. You look at Cornell, though, it's 8-1 in the conference, so they're the leader. And then Yale is obviously solid as well, 8-1, tied with them. So Princeton beat Yale on Saturday, so a big matchup there. And the Ivy League, for the first time in a while, could have like 3 actual contenders for the league championship. It's usually one team, like it's usually Princeton or Yale, I guess, but now you add Cornell into the mix, and we'll see. It should be interesting. Also, you got a big matchup between Duquesne and Fordham, 7:30 ESPN2 on Friday. So Saturday.
Saturday, number 2 Houston goes to number 11 Baylor. Number 20 South Carolina is at Ole Miss. North Carolina goes to Virginia. Alabama is at Kentucky. Texas is at Kansas. Texas A&M is at Tennessee.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add. I don't feel like it.
Good. Sunday, Creighton goes to St. John's and a pissed off Rick Pitino. Ohio State goes to Michigan State. Xavier goes to Marquette. And again, Minnesota at Nebraska.
Purdue at Michigan.
Purdue at Michigan. Yeah.
Purdue on 120 watch.
Game to watch. Yeah.
Doug McDaniel, though, difference maker.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Good games. All right. Upset picks of the week. I went 2-1 last week.
I went 0-3. You want to hear my scores?
Definitely.
I had Oklahoma at Baylor. Baylor won 79-62. I had Arkansas at home against Tennessee. Tennessee won 92-63. And I had Marquette over UConn, which was 81-53. So good work by me.
I'm not sure if I'm ready for a tournament that doesn't feature the Must Bus and Rick Pitino and some of these other guys. That's going to suck.
That's true. This week I only do teams that are ranked. So I did Washington State over Arizona. That'd probably be an ass kicking. Virginia over North Carolina. That should be a game in the 40s or 50s. Those are always fun to watch. And then I got Texas over Kansas.
Last week I had Cincinnati over Ohio State Iowa State. Jesus, Cincinnati lost by 9. I had Rutgers over Northwestern. They came back and won. Then I had Ohio State over Purdue. So I'm a Big Ten sharp, well known. 2-1.
Good stuff.
And you told me on this podcast last week that was a crazy pick, but it's cool.
Yeah, everybody saw it. All 3 people that are watching.
I might post a clip again. My tweet has like over 1,000 views.
Wow, it's because you have 1,700 followers.
Most of my tweets don't. What about my picks this week? I mean, what are you trying to do here?
Nobody cares.
Creighton over UConn.
You're gonna pick something stupid like
I
North
just picked Creighton over
Central
UConn.
State over.
I actually have 2 Big East and a Big 12.
Okay.
Creighton over UConn. Okay.
Okay.
Let's get weird. Kansas State over BYU.
Okay.
Kansas State's not very good this year. And then give me Xavier over Marquette. So the top 2 teams in the Big East are going down. Mark it down.
Hinkle wants to know your most overrated teams in the Big East, SEC, ACC, and Big 12.
Yeah, Big East, I'll go Marquette. SEC, I will go. I mean, does South Carolina count as overrated? Because they're definitely overrated.
Sure.
If not, I would say Tennessee, just because people don't talk about Alabama enough.
Okay.
I really like Tennessee, though. ACC, I mean, does that even count as a conference? I mean, Jesus.
You got like
give me North Carolina. Yeah, why
Okay.
not? They're better than Duke, though, probably. And Big 12, Iowa State. I mean, clearly. I mean, what are we doing here? There you go.
Iowa State have a chance tonight at Houston.
It's always a chance. Quick turnover. This Big East or this Big 12 schedule sucks.
Yeah.
Like Houston played like midday Saturday. It's bad scheduling. They got to clean that up. But all right, that'll do for us. Everybody next week, 26th, last one of February, last one before March. Hopefully, it's better than this one. But this one wasn't too bad. It was okay.
What's wrong with this one?
It's fine. It's just
Still
we recorded 2
on for
podcasts
56
today.
minutes.
2 hours of podcasting today. It's not easy. People don't know.
Hardworking people today.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, we'll see everybody next Monday with more to do and plenty of good games this week. And my upset picks are going to go 3-0.